You are listening to Heroes Never Die, your one-stop spot for all the latest news, Overwatch League results, and mishaps in Overwatch. Here are your hosts, Totemly Drunk and Edinar.
What is up, guys, and welcome back to Heroes Never Die, your one-stop spot for all things Overwatch. I am your host, Totemly Drunk, and tonight on episode 119, we're going to discuss the latest Overwatch World Cup news. We have an update on the Pink Mercy campaign with BCRF. We have full All-Star rosters to kind of sort through, and Overwatch League came out with some massive news today, which we're going to talk about in regards to TV distribution, all of that, and so much more. But before we can get into the news and introduce you to my co-hosts, I just want to take a moment to thank everyone who is hanging out with us in Twitch chat tonight for our live show, and of course, thank all of our repeat listeners out there. With me again tonight is my co-host, Edinar, and Ed, tonight is the night Overwatch playoffs start in roughly an hour from right now, and hype is at an all-time high. We got some massive news with some pretty major implications of esports as a whole in the future. Whoa, man, it's going to be an interesting night, but how are you doing tonight?
I am doing good. I was already stoked for the Overwatch playoffs to start tonight. And then once you're like, all right, let's start an hour early so we can watch more of the actual playoffs and not just side glance at our second monitor while we're recording. Which, side note, we did every time we recorded this show previously. But yeah, no, I'm excited. So much great stuff. Like, not even just for Overwatch, like, and we'll talk about the TV stuff later. That's not even Overwatch specific. Great news. This is just overall esports. One of the best things to come to actual esports in a long, long time. Like, this is going to have implications for a while. And then you're just going to see it grow and grow and grow. So to get that news is amazing.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and jump into the news this week. So as we have seen over the past couple of weeks, we've been hearing more and more about the Overwatch World Cup teams. And we now finally know who is going to be the final 7 for Team USA. Okay, so representing the United States, we will have our tank line be Muma from the Houston Outlaws, as well as Space from the Los Angeles Valiant. For damage, we have Sinatra from the San Francisco Shock, Hydration from the Los Angeles Gladiators, and Zachary from Fusion University. And on our support line, we have Moth from the San Francisco Shock and Raucus from the Houston Outlaws. Okay, so there's been quite a bit of discussion amongst the community, especially on Reddit. I mean, that's what Reddit's known for, especially the COW Reddit. There's been a lot of, people nitpicking on the support line. Then yes, I'll be the first one to admit, neither one of the supports that I had picked made the final cut. My initial reaction was not the best. I was not happy, but I can understand the reasoning. And, Coach Arrow took to tweet longer to comment on the selection process. And, he stated we received a lot of questions specifically about the decision to select Raucus as the start and flex support for the group stages. Both Sleepy and Raucus are very strong players with various strengths in-game and out-of-game, thus causing this to be the toughest decision we've had to make. Our roster is comprised of very young, highly talented players, and Raucus's traits as a leader and teammate help provide a strong sense of coordination that we feel is necessary for the team. Please understand that this does not mean that we feel that Sleepy is a poor player or leader. It simply comes down to a different style. Sleepy is a very mechanically gifted player and made the top 12 through his outstanding play. There's no doubt that he is a very talented player with a bright future, and I look forward to continuing to work with both him and Raucus over the next few months. Okay. So, you and I were pretty much on the same page. For Team USA, when we were kind of making our picks, for who we wanted or who we thought would be the final 7. So, not really the support duo we were looking for, but I'll be the first one to admit, I have been extremely hard on Raucus throughout, most of the Overwatch League season because, you know, he kind of like midway through the season, he started to see, you know, a pretty sharp decline. And, you know, a lot of that has to do with the fact that, you know, Rawkus was kind of going through some stuff because, you know, his father did pass away during the regular season, and that definitely affected his play. That being said, like, Rawkus and Sleepy both bring different things to the Zenyatta role. Rawkus is more of the team mentality and just being more like healing centric and not always going for the frags. And I know Sleepy relies a lot on getting the frags, getting those right clicks, and being just going Jonak essentially. But he's a lot more active in that sense. So like I don't. Like, I'm not gonna say, like, I am disappointed that, you know, we're not going to see Sleepy in it, but, you know, Rawkus, you know, he has played well on the main stage, and, you know, I can't really say, like, a lot of this was built on prior synergy, since, the Outlaws don't really have that much of a mainstay on this year's roster, all in all, but I am hoping that this isn't going to take too much bite out of that US roster, and just looking at how some of our power rankings have kind of shifted these past 24 hours, we have, at least I know Spider and I both felt like this was a bit of a blow to the team, but where do you sit right now with this final 7 for Team USA?
Okay, like you said, the tanks, good with the tanks. DPS, good with the DPS. Kind of what we predicted. Rawkus, I made a case for him last week, saying that I could see him making the team. And I don't think it was. It wasn't skill related. Like, he's not the best healer. The thing is without Rawkus, they don't have a face of the team. Like Jake, face of the team. Last year, like, he was 100% the face of the team. When they needed to talk to somebody about Team USA, they went to Jake. When they needed to show somebody on screen, they went to Jake. I mean, I guess Muma to some degree, but I mean, in all honesty, Moth, Sinatra, Zachary, Hydration, they're not outgoing. They're not as charismatic. Like, they're not the character that like Rawkus would be. I mean, so Rawkus is kind of like the face of the team, and they needed that. So I can kind of get to see it that way. Moth, you know, a case can be made for Moth. A case could be made for any of these. It's just we made the wrong case for the wrong two healers, and it came back. But I mean, I think they'll still be successful. But I agree, they're down in the power rankings because of it.
Yeah, and you know, kind of to your point with Rawkus, something that he does bring is the hair. I mean, that's really where the persona and the character comes from. That, and you know, he has like a butt emote on his Twitch. I don't know if you've seen that. That was also another thing. So he has that as well. But the U.S. group stage is scheduled to start on August 7th, and it will continue through August 9th. So again, just as a reminder, in the United States group, we have Austria, Brazil, Canada, Norway, and Switzerland. Obviously, you know, our main opponent here is going to be, you know, America's top hat in Canada. Brazil has always been kind of one of those teams that's been in discussion, but hasn't really broke out, so I'm not too concerned with Brazil, just knowing that this is a team that often gets hyped up, and they just haven't quite been able to live up to the expectations put on them by, you know, just the casters, the community, the analysts, and, you know, I'm pretty sure, like, when I was looking at the roster, it is mostly comprised of Brazil Gaming House again, and I know there were a couple members from Pain Gaming, which was like the second best Brazilian team. But definitely, you know, I'd say it's for sure a lock for Canada and, you know, the United States team to make it through into the main stage. It's just a matter of, well, where are we going to go from there? Because a lot of it is going to come down to the draw and who's put where. And, you know, let's just hope fingers crossed that we do not draw South Korea in the quarterfinals, because that will be the death of literally anyone that is put against them, and we'll talk about them in a little bit. But let's move on. Let's talk about the Pink Mercy campaign. So we finally got an update. We have the final numbers from this campaign for the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. And the fans raised more than $12.7 million for the BCRF. More than $10 million of that came from the skin. I know with the Twitch streams that they did with that, with the however many streamers they had raised over $130,000 in donations throughout the campaign. And the donation for this was actually the biggest by a corporate partner in BCRF's 25-year history. And man, like, when I saw that number, like, I was just so taken back. Like, I knew the number would be high, but that number was just so astronomical to me. Like, it caught me off guard. Like, I was not expecting it to be as much as it was.
Yeah, no, I was not expecting it to be that much at all. I was thinking more in the $7 to $8 million range. But wow, kind of insane. Like, kind of insane how much money they raise, and especially for a great cause. Like it says in the article, this amount, the event helped put together the largest donation ever by a single company in a year, and it's from a gaming community.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, games are destroying the youth, except they're doing great things for the community. So shut up. Like, you know, it's one of those things. Like, I bought it. I know all of my friends bought it. I didn't buy the T-shirt or anything like that, but you know, it's for a good cause, and this was awesome. I mean, they blew it away. I hope they bring it back next year. Maybe bring like a pink Symmetra skin or pink Anna skin. You know what I mean? Like, give out a different pink breast cancer awareness skin. So
I mean,
I hope they bring.
People were already like doing artwork for Torbjorn's pink skin.
no Torbjorn pink skin.
I don't think you'd go for that one. But speaking of Symmetra, guys, Symmetra is finally unlocked in competitive play after 2 weeks of being disabled. And, you know, we've had some more time to kind of, like, sit down and kind of familiarize ourselves with the Symmetra rework and exactly how she's going to kind of fit into the mold. So, you know, like, I have to say, like, right now, like, I'm not fully on board with the new Symmetra still. Like, I feel like, just like her prior iteration, she still is extremely situational, and it depends a lot on team coordination, which is a good and a bad thing depending on which way you want to kind of look at it. I will say, like, the most fun I've had with her when I played her is on Assault maps, so 2 CP maps, especially when you want to rotate to high ground for first point defenses. But, like, I'm having so many issues on Symmetra, primarily just due to the fact that she's very susceptible to the dive, and, you know, she's pretty squishy, but, you know, her damage output is good, but I'm not going to say that it's absolutely great. I have noticed that some people still quite don't know the extent of the projectile speed with her ult fire. I see a lot of people still getting hit by that just because, you know, it just catches them off guard by how quickly, like, it moves across the screen. And other than that, like I've seen Seagull stream her quite a bit, and, you know, he did okay, and he was doing a lot to try to build a team around Sim. But it seems like right now we're still kind of in that trial by fire type methodology where we're just trying to figure out where exactly she's going to fit into the meta, but I don't think she is, like, the most viable option right now, especially in competitive.
No, I don't think she is. I think the reason people felt that she was strong beforehand is, one, people didn't know how to handle against. Like, I'm strictly talking against her. They didn't know how to handle the teleporter, and they didn't know how to. They didn't realize to look for the turrets. So the turrets were destroying people, and now people are starting to get, they're like, okay, we see this thing whipping by our head. You turn and shoot real quick, blow it up, then you don't have to think about it. Like, Instead, before, like when Symmetra Rework first came out, they'd shoot it. People wouldn't like really like realize it because they're not used to it, and it just wreck people, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I should have turned around and shot that." Like, it's one of those things where people learn to play against her, and yeah, she's just. I'm still not a fan of her. I think, like you said, she's very easily messed up when people try and dive her because she can't really get away unless she somehow puts down a teleporter while she's getting attacked and then teleports out. And I just don't see someone truly being that coordinated to get out of it that way and it actually working. So I think she's going to obviously see more play. I think we're going to actually see a good amount of her in the Overwatch League because, like you said, her strength is in a massive team comp, like massive like strategy with a whole team, and that's what the Overwatch League is. So I think we're going to see some interesting things out of her. So yeah, but I think a normal everyday comp, I don't think she's really going to be meta.
Yeah, like, really the only comp that I've really had good success with Symmetra, at least on defense, is running Symmetra with Inarissa and Roadhog, with Torbjorn being the other DPS, and having Mercy and Zenyatta as the support duo. Just because, like, that comp in itself has quite a bit of output damage. Obviously, you know, with damage boost, res, and Discord Orb, that's absolutely massive. It's practically mandatory still, especially just with the Mercy heal and throughput. And, you know, I like the cheeky shenanigans that come with teleporting the Torbjorn turret kind of to some unexpected locations, which is always fun. But, like, I haven't really had a chance to actually test that one out in competitive. I know, like, in quick play, I've had pretty good success with it overall. But you know, that seems like more of a just defense-only type strat, but I don't know if I would really instill it on maps other than, you know, like 2CP or, like, Hollywood First Point would be another good one for that type of strat.
Yeah, no, I love it. I never thought you'd say the words. You know what works really great with Symmetra? Torbjorn. Torbjorn, Orisa, and Roadhog.
Bob's probably listening right now, and he's like, yes, justified.
Best day ever. But like you said, people are gonna try and pull off, you know, sneaky shit with her, and 99% of the time, it's not gonna work. And that 1% it does, somebody's gonna freak out and put it on Reddit. Like,
and then everyone's gonna try it right after that.
Yep. Basically. So I have no problem dealing with her. If she becomes a problem, I just go Pharah and then wait for her to do the teleport and ult on the exit teleport as they're all coming through.
Absolutely. Get into bait barrages with the teleport is always good. And, you know, it's not just Barrage, you can do it with other ultimates as well. But let's go ahead, let's shift gears and talk about some of the hot community topics from this past week. And let's talk a little bit about esports, because there's this little theme coming up pretty soon, which is very important for esports, kind of moving forward in regards to the Olympics. So we have Jake from the Houston Outlaws and Gagiri from the Shanghai Dragons, who are going to be representing the Overwatch League at an upcoming Olympics esports forum. And that forum is being hosted by the International Olympic Committee and the Global Association of International Sports Federations. Whew. So that's a mouthful. And that happens July 20th and 21st, being held in Switzerland. So also joining them, we'll have the Overwatch League Commissioner, Nate Nancer. The Blizzard President, Mike Morheim, will be there. Riot Games CEO, Nicolo Laurent will be there, as well as a representative from the Fortnite team over at Epic Games. And it's important to note, like, this meeting in itself does not necessarily mean that esports is going to be included in the Olympics, but, you know, it definitely kind of gets the discussion going. You know, we have seen, like, for instance, like, the Asian Games start to kind of incorporate esports there. You know, they've held, like, League of Legends stuff, Hearthstone, StarCraft 2, Clash Royale. I know there's a couple others that I'm forgetting. But really, like, we've kind of seen esports, especially in these last few years, really start to bloom. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff still on the horizon. You know, we had the launch of the Overwatch League, which was a massive deal. And, you know, maybe we quite haven't hit that global expansion as of yet. But it's definitely, like, within grasp, right? So the real question is, does Olympics need esports more than esports needs the Olympics? Because if you talk to a lot of the pro gamers, it is definitely on one side of that argument.
I think for legitimacy's sake, we need the Olympics. Once it becomes an Olympic sport, I think it adds, in the eyes of people who don't follow any esports, the people who are later tonight are going to go on Twitter and Reddit and rant about what is this crap on my ESPN. It would add some legitimacy to, like, okay, maybe I've been thinking about this all wrong. Like, I mean, there's some crazy things that are actual Olympic sports. I'm sorry. Like, some of the stuff is just stupid. I'm like, hey, let's cross country ski with a rifle and then shoot target, get up, cross country ski some more. How is that a sport? It's called living in the North. Like, like people in Siberia are like, yeah, that's a Monday morning for me. What the hell? But, like, you know what I mean? Like, they have some of these sports that are Olympic sports that are just, why not include esports? It's not detrimental. I guess it would technically classify it as a sport, which a lot of people don't think it is, and that's a whole different story for a whole different episode, because we could have a 3-hour episode on that alone. But, you know, I guess like they did point out in this article about the violence and the language in the game, which I get, but can be easily adjusted. Like, you know, kill streak, that can easily be taken out of the game for the Olympics. It really can. You know, take out any blood. And I mean, there's no blood in Overwatch, but other games there are. You know, they could make it look a little bit more cheeky. That's easy stuff to get rid of. That could be ironed out in 2 weeks. So I don't know. I don't know what the big hiccup is, but I think esports needs the Olympics. It will just create more fanfare and more fun.
Yeah, it would be kind of interesting to see, like, what would exactly happen to, say, the Overwatch World Cup at that time, you know, if we were to be involved with the Olympics. And Julistic TV brings up a good point, too. They say it would also help if people wouldn't see gaming as a violent thing. And absolutely, like, right now, I'm not going to say, like, the vast majority of the society. I don't know how many people think this, but a lot of people believe that, you know, playing video games or violent video games gives you tendencies to be a violent person, have outbursts, and do, you know, just awful things. And, you know, there's already been studies on this that have been done saying, like, no, that is absolutely not the case. But, you know, people believe anything, you know, that's just spoon-fed to them, right? They're trying to run that narrative. And I don't know if that's necessarily going to change, just knowing how gullible some people are, which is absolutely awful. Like, the Olympics would be an absolutely huge deal, and it would be a huge step for esports, and so would be, you know, being broadcast on the ESPN main channel, which we'll get to later. We need something out there that will help bring esports into, you know, as a mainstay, really. We need that grand scope of things, and whether it is a TV deal, or if it's being an Olympic sport does it, something is going to have to be the catalyst for it. But, you know, one of the things that would be kind of be beneficiary of, you know, Overwatch being in Olympic esports, or just any esport really at the Olympics, for, like, let's say, like, for South Korea. The Korean men would be given military service exemptions, like they do for medaling in the Olympics. And I know they actually already do that with the Asian Games. So I mean, there would be perks for countries out there to kind of stay true to the path that they're currently on and not having to kind of take a step back and kind of like shy away from it, because we have seen quite a few just esports careers kind of put on hold because of military service. And I'm not going to say like that's an awful thing. Like, obviously, they're serving their duty for their country, which is a huge deal. But not everyone wants to go that route, and some of these players don't really pick it up after.
Mm-mm. No, and just to reiterate that, as gaming as a violent thing, you nailed it right on the head. It's people will believe whatever the hell they're told. It's the nature of our country right now, and it's been this way for a while. Like, take the current political stuff going on now. It's been going on for a while. I mean, Marilyn Manson caused what was that, Columbine over out in Colorado. That was what some of the government officials said too. Like, the person who shot up the school, like the first big mass shooting in a school, the guy listened to a lot of Marilyn Manson. So they got on TV, they blamed Marilyn Manson for it. And everyone's just like, you're blaming music for this. No, you can't blame music. Well, then they went from music to video games. Now people are on video games because it's violent. Well, so is television, so is movies. It's not so much what people are watching or what people are seeing. It's more the actual person themselves. And people need to start realizing that. And like, Overwatch is a great example. It's a violent game. Yes, you have to kill people. You're not killing real people. Like, you're not killing realistic people. You're shooting a giant monkey. Okay?
Or a hamster.
Shooting a hamster. You're shooting a mech. You're shooting a purple person. You're shooting, you know what I mean? Like, they make it look less realistic than like a Call of Duty or something like that. And that's a pretty good approach, because then people, like, I mean, those who may see it as too violent, we're like, how can you take it serious? It's a talking monkey, or it's a hamster that controls a giant mechanical ball. So it's one of those things where I think people just need to get past it, and like you said, the Olympics could help that, hopefully. So, and maybe being on a certain 4-letter channel might help out as well.
We can only hope. But moving on, we got to talk about another World Cup team, right? We got to talk about the back-to-back champions in South Korea, who, it's safe to say they're pretty poised to three-peat, right? So for Team South Korea, for the tank line, we have Fate from the LA Valiant, Meko from the New York Excelsior. The support duo, also from the New York Excelsior, we have Jonak and Ark the Undying, because I'm not just going to call him Ark. I will always refer to him as Ark the Undying, because that is a thing. And then on the damage side, we have the New York Excelsior duo of Sabiolbi and Libero, and then rounding out that roster, we have the fish right out of water in Carpe of the Philadelphia Fusion. And like, I have to say, I would have been happy with no matter what lineup South Korea got, right? Like, all of the players that they picked on their 12-man roster were great talents. Would I have preferred Fisher as their main tank? Absolutely. Does that make Fate a bad choice? Absolutely not, because Fate has definitely been one of the most consistent performers on that role. So I'm not necessarily going to say, like, Fisher was snubbed or anything. But I know some people are kind of a little bit upset that Fisher wasn't chosen for the final 7. But either way, this is an absolute monster of a team, and this also means that not only do New York Excelsior have the majority of the starting roster for the All-Star game for their division, they also, make out the majority of the starting roster for their World Cup team for South Korea. So there is that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like you said, Fisher or Fate, flip a coin. Really, it's flip a coin. and take whoever. The rest of the team, it's the South Korea Excelsior at this point. None of these surprise me whatsoever. They're gonna win. Anyone who doesn't think they're gonna win is lying to themselves. It's almost laughable, like how good they are compared to everyone else. So yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an uphill battle, especially if United States draws them first. It's okay because we'll treat it as the finals one way or another. At least Team US will. But looking back at the group stage for South Korea again, that starts on August the 17th. And really looking at the other teams that they're going up against, they should have no issues whatsoever to make it out of their group stage because they're going up against Russia, Japan, Finland, Taiwan, and Hong Kong, and, as we mentioned in the past, really, like, the other powerhouse team in this region, or this group stage, is going to be Finland. Japan, Taiwan, and Hong Kong all have very similar styles, but they're more South Korea light in the sense that they've kind of taken a similar aggressive approach to Overwatch, because a lot of people kind of adapt to the Korean style, especially in the Pacific region, but they just don't have the same level of talent and just depth to their strategies like the Korean teams have. So it's definitely going to be an uphill battle for everyone in that group. But I think Finland's the safest bet to kind of make it out because they are another star-studded team. And, last I checked, I'm pretty sure all of us had Finland in our top 5 for our rankings as well, which we'll be covering tomorrow on the Backcap.
Yes. I still need to finish mine, by the way. I'm the slacker of the hosts, this guy. So I'll make sure to do that. But yeah, no, it's gonna be Finland. It's another one of those gimme like rounds. South Korea, Finland. That's who's gonna make.
Notice how they basically play favorites. So they're like, okay, we're gonna give South Korea, we'll give US, we'll give Canada like the easy group stage, and then everyone else kind of just gets the shaft.
It's basically how it goes.
Rigged. I don't care what they say about, travel, like making things easier for people to get to one place. No, it's rigged.
Yeah. No, it will be super rigged if the US plays South Korea in the first round again.
But we got to make sure that they also send out graphics ahead of time like they did last year before they even announced there was going to be a group draw. And then we got to see it and then also them announce that they're doing a group draw and still draw South Korea. And effectively change nothing.
I've come to realize Blizzard as a whole sucks at releasing stuff early. Like, they're just not good at keeping that stuff under wraps. Like, just as a whole, like, you had that last year. The most recent one happened, 2 days ago? Yesterday? The Hearthstone expansion announcement was leaked 5 days early, and they had to, like, push it out. Like, it showed up, like, the 10-minute video showed up on YouTube under somebody else's channel. And so Hearthstone had to, like, rush it out. Because originally it was supposed to be on the 17th, I think it was. I'm just like, man, you guys need to keep this stuff under wraps. So.
I did not know it was actually leaked. I mean, obviously I saw the video after the fact, but I haven't been, glued to the Hearthstone Reddit or anything like that. But, yeah, that's definitely, someone might get fired over that. But moving on, let's go ahead and go inside Overwatch Contenders and the Overwatch League before we head into our main discussion for tonight. So, Ed, what is going on right now with our Overwatch League affiliate teams over in Contenders?
So, all right, we'll start off with Team CC, the Dragons team. Defeated Hero Tecaturn Panthers 4-0. Man, Dragons Contenders team doing things way better than their counterparts.
Also part of Miraculous Youngster.
Yes. So, all right. So they went 4-0. British Hurricane Spitfire defeated the Bazooka Puppies 3-2 in a reverse sweep. It was not looking good for the British Hurricane for the second week in a row. And then out of nowhere, they pulled the reverse sweep to beat the Bazooka Puppies. But yeah, Hurricane are not looking the greatest. They kind of pulled that one out. So we'll see how that continues because they are still considered the best team in EU. Maybe not now, but they were. Next up, you had two teams going up against each other in NA, and that is the XL2 Academy defeated NRG Esports which is the Shocks team, 3-2 as well. I did not catch that one personally, but I heard it was a really good map. Really good match. So that's awesome. Next up, we have Team Envy. Dallas Fuel defeated the Sky Foxes 3-1. Team Envy still continues to look good.
Oh, and I just want a quick note. Sky Foxes, I know, signed Jaru, who was formerly on Envision, and as we know, Envision was signed by Team Envy.
Mm-hmm.
So they're also making a ton of changes on that roster.
Yep. Mayhem Academy defeated Second Wind 4-0. I don't think that was big shocker right there. If I remember, Second Wind wasn't really a top-notch team. Neither the Mayhem Academy, but still. A
win is a win.
A win is a win. The Gladiators Legion defeated GG Esports Academy, which is the Outlaws team, 4-0. And then lastly, Fusion University defeated last night's Leftovers 4-0. So lots of 4-0s going on.
Absolutely. And that Gladiators Legion game against GG Esports Academy, that was one-sided. That was a rough one to kind of sit through if you're an Outlaws fan. But, Fusion University is, looking a little bit better. They actually have everyone in the same house now, so we're not going to be dealing with 200 MS pains from Alarm and 2RU, so hopefully that will kind of solve the issue of 2RU having, a little bit of a slow start, having to deal with all the pain issues. But that's going to be a scary team moving forward, knowing that they're all in one location, so keep an eye out on them. But let's talk a little bit about the Overwatch League All-Star Game, because we already went over the starting lineups, but now we finally have the full rosters for both divisions. So as we mentioned prior, for starters for the Pacific, we have Fisher, Gagiri, Custa, Ryuje Han, Fleta, and Seagull. And then for the Atlantic, we have Gesture, Jonak, Arc, Sabilby, Pine, and Carpe. So again, as we mentioned, majority NYXL, really no surprise. I think the Pacific one was probably a little bit more surprising than the other, just kind of seeing the wishy-washy, season that was the Seoul Dynasty. Sadly, I'm wearing the Dynasty jersey, and we're not in the playoffs tonight. Maybe next year. I am really curious to see what changes they're going to make, though. But I'm happy to see Seagull getting a nod. So for the reserves, I broke it down based on how many players were selected from the teams. So I'll go from the most to the least. That's probably the best way to do this. So for Pacific reserves from the LA Valiant, they had 5. They have Agilities, Fate, Space, Kriv, and Soon. We have the Shock, who had 2 in Architect and Sleepy. Gladiators also had 2 in Big Goose and Surefour. The Fuel had 2, both of their tanks, Mickey and OGE. And then Dynasty had 1, and that was Zunba. Then for the Atlantic reserves, we had 3 teams that had 3 players chosen. We had New York Excelsior, so we had Meko, Libero, and Mono. Spitfire also had 3 with Bedosian, Birdrain, and Fury. Uprising had 3 with Gamzu, Neko, and Striker. And then we had 3 teams that only had 1 player. So Mayhem, really not a surprise. Saya player. The best player on the team. Shocking. We had the Outlaws also with 1 with Muma. And then Fusion had Poco. So all in all, a lot of New York Excelsior, making it on the Atlantic Division. But are there, any names from the reserves that, maybe that you were kind of looking at that weren't listed?
Well, all right. So I pointed this out in our staff lounge, and it was just funny to me. The U.S. World Cup team has more Houston Outlaws than the All-Star game. There's 1 Houston Outlaw in the entire All-Star game, and that's Muma. So Raucus, who made the U.S. team as their top healer, didn't make even the All-Star team. So that was kind of funny to me. Mickey, I don't think Mickey was bad. I just don't think he was that good. Like he was pretty good, but he just wasn't that great. I Poco, I'm like Poco was just flashy.
Yeah,
I think
early
that's
on, especially, because that's when he was always hitting those Poke bombs.
yeah, he was just he was just hitting stuff like that. So really, it's only like Poco, Mickey, Creve is a little weird.
Well, he
Well,
he also kind of did a little bit of everything, though. Because
yeah,
that was someone
he
that kind of
did.
went through a role swap as well mid-season.
Yeah. So really, it's just Mickey and Poco are the two that were surprising to me. How about you? Any of them surprise you?
I was kind of surprised Sinatra didn't make it for Pacific Reserves. I thought he would be more of a shoe-in. I think I figured most of the LA Valiant would get in. And I was expecting kind of like the same thing for the Gladiators, just knowing how much of a home crowd that both of the LA teams have, but that really wasn't the case. Big Goose, it's just I'm kind of okay on. But I'm just happy to see Saya play on, because I was really worried,
Yeah.
Mayhem were just gonna get nil, nothing happening, but Saya player will be in there. So hopefully, if we get that Widowmaker heads shot only, free for all, Saya player will be in there with all of NYXL that plays Widowmaker, which is 4 players on the roster.
Yeah, but you're missing Lincer, who's arguably the best counter sniper in the game.
This is true.
Like
Lincer
you're
is
missing
not
him,
there.
but only one Houston Outlaw can make the All-Star team. So I guess Muma's just like, oh, well, now I have to play Widowmaker and Symmetra the entire time.
I mean, I guess. So just as a reminder, the All-Star Weekend kicks off on August 25th. That will be at 4 p.m. Pacific Time. That will be our day of skill matches. We're still awaiting details on that. And then the All-Star game will be on August 26th, starting at 11 a.m. Pacific Time. So in other news, speaking of Overwatch League, we also got some new playoff gear added to the store earlier today. I would say just in time for the playoffs, but I think they were just a little bit late getting this out. But they did add some new inaugural season playoff shirts that are $30, and I mean, they're not too flashy. They're black. They got the Overwatch League yellow hue in there, and then they have all of the 6 playoff team icons there. And then there's also authentic home playoff jerseys that will be $85, which is basically the normal authentic jerseys just with the playoff patch. So my question to you is, Ed, I watch a ton of hockey, and I know when someone wins the Stanley Cup, the next season they always have one that has a specific cup on it, or even just for the playoffs. Are you expecting something like that for whoever is the champion of the first season?
Yes, I expect championship apparel at the start of next season. Heck, even do what Sports Illustrated does 5 minutes after the Super Bowl champion, start advertising well, they could probably just get it ahead of time. Be like, okay, here's your New York Excelsior montage of their season, and
here's an 11-disc set of the
Yeah,
rise of
get the-
NYXL.
get your special, New York Excelsior championship shirt and stuff like that. And then all the, LA Valiant championship shirts get shipped off to some foreign country. That's basically what happens in all other sports. So, but no, I'm fully expecting it. Something with a championship logo on it or something like that. I'm a little the home playoff jerseys. It's cool that they have them. They're just nothing special. They're not flashy enough. You can't truly tell they're playoff except for the patch.
Mm-hmm.
And the patch is so small. People aren't going to be paying attention to that patch when they see it. So I think they should have had it up on the shoulder here, but no, they have it down below. So if I was to get one of these, maybe the playoff T-shirt would be one that I would get.
Yeah, I would agree. If I'm gonna be spending $85, I would just rather spend the extra 15 to get a personalized jersey rather than just getting one that is just like my other jerseys, except, with a patch on the side. But, I'm sure, like, as time goes on, obviously we'll have more Overwatch League gear hitting the store. And just kind of a sidetrack real quick. Obviously, the Overwatch League had a ton of skins and stuff. Do you think we'll see something similar for the World Cup this year? Because that was a pretty big deal for, like, the Twitch partnership.
Yes, I think we will see World Cup stuff. World Cup skins. Like, I think they'd be stupid not to. And then you can earn World Cup, like Overwatch skin tokens watching the World Cup, only good towards Overwatch World Cup jerseys. So, like, kind of have like a secondary or third currency to use. But yeah, I think they'd be stupid not to do something like that. It has to happen.
I'd
be pissed if they don't.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are expecting it to happen, so I would think there would be a pretty big uprising if it doesn't actually come to fruition. But let's go ahead, let's move on, let's talk about the big news tonight. Obviously, the playoffs are starting tonight. We already covered the playoffs last week, guys, so if you didn't listen to our preview, you could either backtrack to last week's episode or listen to Monday's episode of Overwatch League Network when we went over all the 6 playoff teams and the quarterfinals. But we got to talk about the massive news that dropped earlier. Was it this morning or this afternoon? It was early today.
Yeah.
And we had an article that dropped on ESPN Esports. And basically, I'll just go through the headline real quick, and that is the fact that Overwatch League will be airing on ESPN, Disney, and ABC family networks. So let's get this out of the way. This deal is multi-year in terms of broadcast terms. That includes the Overwatch League playoffs that begin tonight. That includes the Overwatch World Cup. That includes the Grand Finals. And also extends through Season 2 of the Overwatch League. And it's also completely separate from the exclusive Twitch deal. So, Twitch still has their stuff going on. And I know, like, ESPN 3 is technically online only. I don't know exactly how that works exactly in regards to this whole situation. But this is an absolute huge deal. So this is going to be aired live. We're going to get full replays of the Overwatch League on the ESPN channels. We'll have a recap show that is going to be airing on ABC. And, ESPN in the past has aired some esports. It hasn't been very prominent on that network. I remember when Heroes of the Storm put on Heroes of the Dorm on ESPN, and there was a huge outroar on Twitter. We'll talk about that, because, it's going to happen again. It happens every time, non-traditional sports airs on ESPN. But, they've had, like, the Capcom Cup Street Fighter V finals. We've seen Contenders aired on Disney XD. That was more, like, of a tape delay. That was last summer. And we really don't know the details of the financials. But chances are, with Twitch costing $90 million, with a network like ESPN and Disney and ABC, there's a lot of money at stake in regards to this deal. So the quarterfinal matches are going to be airing on Disney XD as well as ESPN 3. But the big thing is, day one of the grand finals will be on the flagship ESPN channel. I'll be honest, like, I didn't expect this.
No.
Like, I could have maybe seen a couple years down the line, maybe ESPN would be more open to the idea of airing more esports, but for it to happen already in the inaugural season was just, I was shell-shocked at work when I saw this. Like, I screamed many profanities when I saw this, and I was just so taken back, and it just made me really think. I'm like, man, like, this is a big deal. Like, a lot of people, like, my coworkers that I was talking to, like, didn't really understand the excitement that I had. A lot of them, most of them are gamers, but they haven't really followed the esports. And, I kind of got into an argument with one of my coworkers because he's on the fence of esports aren't real esports. or esports aren't real sports, and the esports athletes aren't real athletes, and it doesn't really take that much work to be a pro gamer. And I just laughed in his face because that's absolutely not the case. Because we've seen the training that these players go through. We've seen the gym regimes that they also put themselves through. It's not. Yes, it might not be as physical on your body, but absolutely it is completely mental. There's a lot of preparation that goes into it. And at the end of the day, you're still looking at the top 1%, if that, out of the entire player base. But ESPN get an Overwatch League, and man, like, I don't know what to say. I'm just floored. Like, I don't I don't know what else to say at this point.
Yeah, it's massive. Like I said earlier in the show, it's not something that just affects the Overwatch League. It affects all esports, because this is the first time that esports will be on this level, especially because it's also for season 2. So you will be able to tune into ESPN 4 to 5 nights a week, watch Overwatch League. That's insane. The fact that it's also going to be on Disney XD, it's also going to be on ABC, it just means that they're throwing a lot of weight behind this. Because, Disney XD is where you're going to get a lot of younger viewership. One thing they don't talk about this that is actually kind of huge is now you will be able to watch Overwatch League on YouTube as well. Because ESPN has that deal with YouTube. So if it's on ESPN, it'll be on YouTube. So you can literally watch the Overwatch League network on anything. Like, literally anything. You can watch it. Like, I'm gonna be watching it tonight it's on ESPN3, but I have the ESPN app on my Apple TV. So I'm gonna check it out on there, see how that goes. Yeah. It's huge. Like when you first hear it, you're like, oh, that's awesome. And then you start to think about it like, yeah, this is a big freaking deal. Like, you don't realize how big of a deal it is until you really break it down. So yeah, that I'm so interested to see what the ratings are going to be like for the day 1 of the finals on actual ESPN. Like, so ESPN has not actually been doing well financially lately in the past few years. So I think this is the kind of thing that is right up their alley. They're like, okay, we're going to start investing in, like, you've seen them already start investing in, like, wrestling, like WWE, and bringing in stuff like that. They're starting to go to try and pull in more viewers by going to, like, WWE, esports, getting away from just football, basketball, baseball, hockey, golf, tennis, like getting away from those and starting to do other things. Also, this is a long shot. If it's on ESPN is the number 1 fantasy site in America. You could, in theory, have Overwatch League fantasy networks on ESPN's website, because it will be on their sites and they will have tracking for it on their sites. So what's to stop them from doing Overwatch Fantasy League on ESPN, which is just what we're looking for? If they built that into ESPN, that would be amazing. So I see literally zero downside to it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it just opens up a lot more doors. So let's say, like, that day 1 or game 1 of the grand finals pulls in a lot of viewers. That would mean going forward, like going into season 2, maybe that would open up more opportunities for Overwatch League to be on the mainstay channel as opposed to being, ESPN 2 or ESPN News or ESPN 3, whatever. But, the good thing with this is, because it is such a big umbrella of networks, chances are they're always going to be able to find a home for every single night. Right? They have options across the board, which is absolutely huge too, because you don't want to be in a situation where there's like blackout days where, no one's going to be able to carry it, and then you're back to, watching on Twitch, because, you know, a lot of people don't like watching on Twitch. I mean, I'll be honest, like, some people don't really like scrolling through the Twitch chat, even the paid chat. And, you know, obviously people have the option to turn it off, but a lot of people just like to watch it on their, you know, big screens at home. And, you know, also with like esports bars too, or just bars in general. Like, this is also a big deal too. That's going to give them another opportunity to take a look at esports, because not all these sports bars have like smart TVs that have like the Twitch app or things like that, but a lot of them obviously have ESPN. So
Yes.
it's definitely going to broaden not only, you know, just being able to see it, but also, you know, we'll see more viewing parties. We'll see more, you know, maybe some player drafts moving forward for fantasy. Like, there is so much that can come from this just outside of just viewing it on TV. But that being said, like, it does make me question, like, how long have they been working on this deal for them to announce it this late into the season? Because potentially this could be a reason why we've been kind of walking on eggshells a little bit with some of the stuff that has happened in regards to disciplinary action. So you can make an argument for it, but like, I want to know when this all began, because this is a massive deal. So I don't know what the time frame was from the inception of the idea to it actually being done and, you know, signed on paper or anything like that. But at the end of the day, this is an absolute huge step for Overwatch League. It's a huge step for, you know, esports as a whole. And, you know, if we can turn over a handful of sports fans into esports fans, or just make them see just what actually goes into playing at a competitive level with like gaming, that would be absolutely massive as well, because you're going to have a lot of naysayers and a lot of people that want to detract from the fact that, oh, this isn't real sports. Yet, you know, ESPN is famous for, you know, always showing World Series of Poker or like billiards. And we've talked about some of the Olympic sports. All of that. I mean, sports as a whole has taken a pretty substantial hit over the past couple of years. Viewership has been down. You know, we've seen it with the NFL. And, you know, obviously, you know, a lot of people are getting into gaming, especially at a younger age. And, you know, like, it's only going to steadily increase from here on out. So you want to get on it before the going gets good. You know, that's because that's going to bring in a lot more beneficiaries to ESPN. My only question is, what exactly is this going to mean for the Overwatch League tokens if we're watching on TV? That's my only question. I just want to know how we're going to earn them. Are we still going to have Twitch up? Will we earn it by just logging into the ESPN app? Will they have it linked to our Battle.net like it is for Twitch? I don't know. So I want to hear more about that.
I would say no, you can't. Because obviously Twitch paid a premium to get the Overwatch League on there, and I think the Overwatch League tokens were a part of that. ESPN is essentially only a 1-year deal. Like, it's a 1 year and 2 week deal, essentially, like the playoffs in season 2, World Cup. But it's one of those things where I think they find Twitch to be more stable, and they'll offer it through Twitch. And if it works out well with ESPN, like viewership wise, then I think they'll move it over there as well. But I think they want to give Twitch, they don't want to piss off Twitch. Like, I'll be interested to see how much the numbers drop on Twitch compared to, like, you know, with it being on ESPN and whatnot.
Well, that's if they drop, because, like, I know when, like, Heroes at the Dorm was happening, or, like, even Contenders, like, I would still have, like, the Twitch channel up, but I'd be watching it on the larger screen with whatever other channel it was on. That's not to say that everyone does it, but I know a lot of people that did. But I don't remember, like, a vast, like, fluctuation in regards to the actual viewership.
Yeah, no. I don't think it will be drastic, but I think it'll be slight, at least. Because, I mean, you're obviously going to have viewers watch it on ESPN over Twitch. Otherwise, there's no point in, you know. But yeah, it will be interesting to see all that. It's all we have no way to predict any of this because it's never happened before. So this is going to be like every match is going to be setting a precedent. So I can't wait. I cannot wait to see what the ratings are. And if they're good, I'm going to rub it in so many people's faces.
As will I. All right, well, with that being said, it's playoff time. We're going to go ahead. We're going to cut out. It's going to be a shorter episode tonight.
Yep.
It is. I mean, this has been kind of like the moment we've been building up towards, all season long. So let's go ahead and close out the show. So if you guys want to help us out, please just go over to iTunes, give us a positive review. We're always looking for feedback on how we can make for a better listening experience. We do have our Overwatch League, and Path to Pro podcast directory on our website. You can follow us on Twitter at OWRecall there. And then every Sunday, if you go to owlnshow.com/weeklyrecall, you can find the latest listings of all the episodes from across the different podcasts out there that cover what we cover. Some different areas, but definitely check out Weekly Recall. But Ed, why don't you go ahead and let our listeners and our viewers know where they can get a hold of our podcast.
All right. Well, you can reach us by email at hndoverwatch@gmail.com. You can reach us at Twitter at hndoverwatch. Twitch, which we are streaming at presently. You can watch us there at twitch.tv/OWLNshow. We are a Twitch affiliate, so you can support the show by subscribing to our Twitch channel and unlock our network emoticon. So thanks again to everyone who's been watching the shows live and interacting with the chat. If you'd like to catch us live, we broadcast minimum 3 nights a week. So Overwatch League Network is Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. Heroes Never Die, this show is Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, unless the playoffs are on. Then we start an hour early. The Backcap is on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Pacific. And then host streams will be held on Fridays and Saturdays, generally around 7:30 p.m. Pacific. Spider on Fridays, Totem on Saturdays. And then you can come join us on Discord at discord.me/OWLNshow. And then we also have a YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is Overwatch League Network. So we're getting close to our custom URL. If you could help us out by subscribing to our channel, we'd greatly appreciate it. And then all our podcast episodes from Heroes Never Die, Overwatch League Network, top plays and other videos can be found there. You can find me on social media at Twitter at EdnarOverwatch, and you can find me on Twitch at EdnarOW. Totem, where can they find you?
Well, I'm over on Twitter at DrunkCTR, and I know we have a couple of Hammond YouTube videos on the way. Spider is still working on those, but you can expect those pretty soon. And I should be back to streaming on our channel this Saturday for the host stream. There's been a couple of interferences with that the past couple of weeks, but I'll definitely be getting back to that. But with that being said, guys, we're going to get out of here, and we will see you back tomorrow as we talk all about the World Cup and Contenders Australia, because I'm going to be joined by Tidget from Junkertown FM, which should be an amazing show. So we hope to see you guys there. Guys, have a good night.
Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to Heroes Never Die. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at HNDOverwatch and join us on Discord at discord.me/OWLNshow.